Thank you everyone for joining today. Today we are presenting Salesforce Financial Services Cloud Bootcamp Part 2, presented by Walter Worley. And I would be your host today, Gurleen Singh. I am going to send out a poll, and I would love if you could guide the eyes. It's just a one-question poll. If you could answer those questions and let us know, it'll give us some idea about where everyone stands. It will make it easier for the speaker to speak in a way that everyone understands. I'm launching the poll now. All right, I'll end the poll. Thank you, everyone. I would like to introduce Walter Worley. Walter, would you like to take over for now?
Talking on mute. That's not a good way to start, right? I'm talking on mute. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Caroline, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. It didn't put the little box around it, so I didn't know, maybe I could see it. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Walter Worley. I am a consultant at Slalom Consulting. I'll tell you just a little bit about myself. Yesterday, you guys, whoever was here yesterday on part 1, saw Scott. Scott is much more heavily technical than I am. I come from the business side of things. I have 9 years experience with Salesforce in the financial services sector. And I've been working on Financial Services Cloud, or you'll see me say FSC or hear me say FSC thousands of times probably during this conversation. I have about 30 years experience in financial services industry as a whole. I've worked card services, helped start up a small niche financing company that we ran for 15 years. And then finally ending my financial services career in retail banking and commercial banking. So that's how I got into FSC. A couple of different organizations specific that had Salesforce, and then moving into FSC. So I came to Slalom just about a year ago. So I'm fairly new to consulting, but in my previous tenure, I was a product owner at a large regional bank. And I pretty much had to do the same thing there. And I had to consult with everybody in the bank to one, convince them to go to Salesforce, and then show them all the things that it could do. And I saw in the poll that almost 70% of the folks here identify themselves as admins. So I will try to speak to the admin side because that's kind of where I come from, and I feel really comfortable with that. But if there's any technical questions that I can't answer, I will definitely take those away. And like Gurleen, I am on the global Salesforce team at Slalom, and we focus on Financial Services Cloud and Encino. Please don't ask me any Encino questions. That's Gurleen's department. But we'll start with the FSC right now. So I am going to discuss today the specific FSC functionality. Yesterday, Scott gave you a good overview of person accounts, householding, DPE, how those things work. And those are vital parts, especially the householding and the person account. I'm going to show you some parts today that I feel are really important for all types of financial services, whether it be retail, commercial banking, wealth management, insurance, those type of areas that really have a lot of front end or hands-on customer touch sometimes. So to that end, we'll go to the agenda, and we're going to break out the agenda like this. We're going to start with referral management, and you'll hear me say referral a lot in the next few minutes, and I'll try to explain what that is. Action plans, and I know Scott touched on some of these yesterday. I'm going to go deeper. Life events and business milestones, kind of what they are, what they can do for your business, what they can do for your associates. And then I'm going to touch a little bit on Flow Orchestrator, kind of what it is, what it can do. This is going to be awesome for admins across the globe, really. Tableau CRM, which is basically I'll call it a starter pack that you kind of get with FSC. And then finally, this I'm going to touch briefly because I just learned about it this week, called the Fsc Transition Assistant. And it's something that Salesforce has put out to make your transition to Financial Services Cloud extremely easy. So we'll touch on that, and I'll give you some information on where you can find information about that. It's available out there now. So to that end, we'll start with referral management. And let's talk referrals versus leads. Okay, so why do we need referrals? Why do we have referrals in FSC as opposed to leads? We have leads, don't get me wrong, but why are referrals so important? I'm going to go over the referral lifecycle, the intelligence-based routing that we have for referrals in FSC, how easy they are to create, how we can track them, and why it's important to track them in certain ways that may be different from leads. And then finally, referral reporting and dashboards. And a lot of the stuff is built into FSC. You don't get it now in regular service, Sales and Service Cloud. So this will be specific to FSC. So I'm going to speak to referrals versus leads. What's the difference and why does it matter? So I've had this conversation hundreds of times with different associates in different areas, especially in the bank. I understand what a lead is. What is a referral? So I like to explain it this way. Leads are like business cards. Somebody hands you a business card, that could be a lead. You have the name, address, and contact info, but very little else. With referrals, and referrals are very common in financial services, referrals usually have a purpose. These customers have a defined interest in who you are as a company and how you conduct business. They're pretty much ready to sign up. So for example, if I go into a bank, I'm a customer of that bank. I want information on insurance or a mortgage or something along those lines. That associate is going to create a referral and send it to someone. So briefly, what are the difference in leads versus in referrals? So leads are generally self-sourced, obviously not always, but usually they are. Lead sources can be unreliable. So if you may have a web to lead form on your website, imagine all the leads that you get coming in on that web to lead form. I've worked in environments too where we had kiosks that we were collecting information as leads. So you don't always know if it's hot, warm, and cold, if it's really worth calling or not. Lead volume can be overwhelming with no product identified. So you could buy leads in the open market and just get dumped a bunch of leads. And leads can be directed to employees that are not geared to help the customer. So if someone just sends in a lead with no direction, you don't know where to send that customer. You could send it to commercial lending when they wanted a mortgage loan. So there's really no direction. So referrals help you meet the needs of the customer faster. Generally, it's defined what that customer is looking for. They also help get that need to an expert that can help quickly. So if I come in and I tell that teller that I want a mortgage loan, they're going to send me to a mortgage lender. They're not going to send me to insurance. Referrals have certainty. The customer indicated they already want a product. They know you as a business. Hopefully they like you. And they want your product. So right away, you know what they want. They may want something else too, and you may cross-sell them on something else too. And the cool thing about being a referrer is anyone can be a referrer. So you can, if you walk into a teller line and say, I want a mortgage, you're a referrer. I can also call my personal banker and say, hey, my sister wants a mortgage loan. Then you become a referrer as well. Even if you're a customer or a vendor, you may know people that you would like to refer to that business because it's important to you. So those are kind of the differences in referrals versus leads. And I meant to tell you, we'll stop at the end of each section and allow for questions. So as we go through, please hold that and we'll get there in a second. So a referral lifecycle is similar to leads. And I should back up and say basically a referral in FSC is a lead record type. So it is a lead for all intents and purposes, but it can act differently than a lead. And its intent in FSC is to act differently. So it is just a record type that's separate from leads. So they can coexist and do coexist in FSC. So the basic life cycle of a referral or creation, the user creates it. And when I say user, this can be a number of people that we'll get into. The referral is assigned to somebody that is best suited to handle that need. That associate accepts the referral. It's then prioritized based on lead scoring and referrer scoring, and I'll get into that too. That's a little bit different. Most everyone understands that Salesforce can score leads, but we're also going to start scoring the referrers, people sending those referrals. And then a referral is converted to an opportunity in the normal Salesforce fashion. So that's very much like leads. But the cool thing is the person who referred that is also tracked on that opportunity. So now you're getting some information. Okay, I know who sent that referral. This referral converted. How long did it take to convert? How much money did we make off of that opportunity? That kind of thing. So that really allows for a lot of reporting. And we've all seen probably lead reporting that's out there. Referral reporting, we're going to get on both sides. Next, and I apologize, guys, I am not a PowerPoint wizard, so my PowerPoints aren't like fantastic like some people are, but I hope you can get the gist of it basically. The whole thing about referrals is you want a simple collection, a simple way to collect referral information to drive it to the right associate. And with that, with FSC, they have a field called expressed interest. And expressed interest is just what it sounds like. What has the customer expressed interest in? Does he want a mortgage loan? Does he want insurance? Does he want a checking account? Does he want a wealth advisor? Does he, that type of thing. And that's just a simple pick list field within the referral that you can change to whatever you want to. So if I've had some companies that call the wealth, I've also heard them call that department investment. So you can adjust that pick list to whatever you want to. With the intelligence-based routing, it's going to know based on a number of factors, where that referral needs to go best. We'll talk to this a little bit as well, but as you get more and more referrals in the system, your Einstein lead scoring is going to take over. It's going to, I'll give you an example. If you have a rock star mortgage lender who's, making $10 million worth of mortgage loans a year, Salesforce is going to know that because it sees the referrals come into him, it sees the conversion, it sees the opportunity close. So it may start driving more business to that mortgage lender based on intelligence, based on analytics that it's done. Same goes for on the other side, that associate who receives those referrals are also going to see who their best referrers are. I'm going to show you a cool example of that in a minute. But the intelligence-based routing is kind of important to the referral. You can also, as I'll show you and give you a couple examples, you can also kind of do this yourself if you don't need that intelligence-based routing or you don't need it Salesforce to figure out who it goes to. You can also do that yourself as an admin. So some of the key to this is making it easy, right? So we need to make sure that the referrals, just like leads, can be created quickly and easily. And to that end, there's a lot of ways you can do that. So you can create a global action from any page. A great example of this is if you go to your personal banker or a CSR at a bank and you're talking to them and you expressed an interest in an auto loan or an insurance product. If you had a global action right on that person account, all that associate would need to do is click a button. It already knows most of your information, key and expressed interest in, maybe write a note and hit enter. And that referral is off and running to that person. So that's a great way to do it. If you're viewing customers in Salesforce FSC, you can quickly create that referral. Standard action on list and record pages. So if you have, if you're mining your book of business, even in a list view of customers that you want to refer to another group. So say you have a bunch of new commercial lenders and you want to send you want to send that list to insurance or possible business insurance, you can do that as well. Flow is one that I like a lot. In my previous experiences, because of the amount of turnover that you can sometimes get, you lose a lot of that knowledge going back and forth between people of where referrals need to go. And we were asked to kind of create guardrails, for lack of a better term, of that. With Flow, we were able to do that. We were able to ask a few questions about the customer, what they were interested in, and it really helped drive those referrals to the right place. One word of warning, that can get out of control really quickly because everybody wants something a certain way. But I think it's a really, really good way of doing it instead of trying to train people to create referrals like you would create a lead, which I know is simple and seems simple. But answering a couple of questions, even with the amounts that they're used to, can be a great way to move it. A quick example for that is we had our concierge bankers could handle business loans up to $50,000. So we would ask the associates when they entered the referral to put in a dollar amount. So we knew if it was over $50,000, it would go to a commercial loan lender. If it was under 50, it could go to the nearest concierge banker. So that really helped quicken the time that it took the customer to be contacted by an associate at the bank. Another easy creation is put it on an Experience Cloud site. So you not only now you're taking your internal referrers and you're making them external referrers. So any customer can be a referrer. And that's really powerful when you understand that because you're not just having a customer, you know, if a customer logs in to your Experience Cloud site and they're looking at their accounts and they realize that their son or daughter needs a car loan and they want to get it on their own, or somebody they know needs a house, they can refer that person. And that would go to the right associate, and that associate could contact them. And then you have a record of your customer actually referring another customer. And there's tons of things you can do with that. So now I'm gonna talk about tracking for referrers, and I'm gonna talk about some of the out-of-the-box components that you have. And all these come right out, come with FSC. They're Lightning components that you can add to Lightning pages, to home pages. So they're very easy. There's very little configuration to it. And they're very easy to show and display to both referrers and referrers and the folks that receive those referrals. So here I'm going to talk about tracking for referrers. You get these included FSC components. So on the home page, you can have a list of referrals made. So here's a listing of referrals that associate sent out. The expressed interest for that. So in this one, it may be day-to-day banking. The other one may be commercial. The other may be mortgage. And then a status. So you can look at it and say, okay, this has not been converted yet. I don't understand why it's not been converted yet. And then if it has been converted, what's the opportunity name on it? So right out of the box, that associate who referred that can look at it and see, okay, this customer is still in the process, or this customer has been converted. That way they know exactly where that deal is in process. So I don't know how many of you folks have had the same experience as I have. If I refer something or an associate refers something, they want to know what happened to that, and they want to know now. So they're going to call that lender or that insurance guy over and over and over again, and probably bug them. With this, they can have it right in front of them, so they don't really need to be that squeaky wheel unless they have to for their customer. If they see something that's not being handled, they can take care of it. And then also this cool component for refers over time. So you can see by month to date, quarter to date, year to date, or all time, how your referrals are performing, how many referrals you sent out, how many were converted, how many were rejected, and what was the revenue generated on that. So based on opportunities, you're going to see how much revenue you generated. And average membership, that leads into householding. That's one of those things you don't see this a lot, but it's based on how many converted customers have become individual households. And then you get a conversion rate of referrals. So this is a really cool component right out of the box. Like I was saying, it allows the referrer to track the progress right there on the page. And then it reduces the amount of time spent following up. So if they have it in front of them, they don't have to send an email and they don't have to make a call. They have it right in front of them. And that's kind of a way to train folks to that, especially with FSC, is to try and put as much information in front of them so they don't have to waste time calling. Sorry, I had to take a quick sip of water there. And now I'll go to tracking for the recipients. So instead of, for those who sent the referral, you've always got to have an associate on the other side that's going to say, okay, I have this referral now. It's my referral to work. Very similar to what the referrer saw, but this gives you a ton of different metrics. So once again, it's included FSC component for tracking referrals received. You can view the referral summary and detailed information on one page. And you can see what deals need attention first, right? So I'll show you in a couple of examples here. There's a ton of metrics that you can see about this, but for this case, on that referrer that I showed a minute ago, that referral for Anna for day-to-day banking, the FSR may say, okay, I need to deal with this. This is a 3-star. So this is going to be based on a number of factors, some of which are, once you generate a large amount of leads, you're going to see this information start filling in. How many referrals were assigned to me? Okay. How many have I received? How many have I converted? Pretty much the same thing. And how much revenue I generated. And also, what is my top interest? Okay, so what am I getting the most of? Am I getting most day-to-day banking? Am I getting more mortgage? That type of thing. And then who is my top referrer? So who is sending me the best referrals that I'm converting? And this is going to change over time. Each referrer will get a referral score, and that referrer score changes all the time on the back end. So that's really going to drive who the referrals are. Who is sending me the most business, right? So I love this component right here. So you can identify your top internal and external referrers based on conversion rates, amounts, and all kinds of different metrics. So this allows you to see not only internal, so internal associates, but also external customers, or external referrers would be a customer. These folks are sending me the most referrals. And say you're a commercial lender and you see that you have an accountant or something that you deal with, maybe sending you a ton of referrals. You may want to, hey, he gets an extra Christmas present this year, or you want to take him out to lunch or dinner, that kind of thing. This gives you a lot of visibility. And the cool thing is that it's out of the box. It's not something you have to really mess with or configure or that type of thing. It's right there. You're dragging, you're dropping. And that's what I just talked about. Sorry, discover your best referrals, internal and external. Then the next thing we'll talk about reports. So there's a ton of reports that you get baked right out of FSC. And here I'm just showing you the folder, report folder of referral performance. So right away, you can see you have a ton of information and a ton of reporting that you can expose to not only your end users, but you can also expose it to management as well. Okay, in these regions, who's doing the best at referring? Who's doing the best at conversion? That type of thing. It's included, like I said, out of the box. You can not only take what you have, you can obviously, just like you can with any other Salesforce report, you can change that. I've seen this used with existing scorecarding. If any of you have been in a retail banking environment where scorecards may play an important role in payouts to associates, I think this is a great way to not only to help your current scorecarding, but even almost to replace it. Because with this, you're seeing who's sending the most business, who's converting the most business, or at least make it a part of your scorecarding. Because it does show you who's bringing in the most business. And view and reward high performers. If you see those people that are bringing in the most business, reward them. And now we'll just go to dashboards. There's included FSC dashboards for referral activity. Once again, everybody knows dashboards are just reports that visualize things. So as you can see here, if you don't want to do a list or a summary, you can put dashboards out there as well. It does provide a lot of visibility. I know I've said the word visibility a ton, but it does provide a lot of visibility to your end users on just exactly who is sending the most business. This gives you obviously quick viewing and drill down of that information. And then you can identify growth areas as well. And I think that's another thing, is that if you think your expressed interest, the most you may have is day-to-day banking, and you see that it's not, it's some other thing. Maybe you want to drive more day-to-day banking. Maybe you want to have a program around that or promotion around that. So then you can also be able to see via the reporting, okay, we started this on December 1st, and we got $10 million worth of deposits in the month of December via these referrals. Then that's you can see what happened based on that program. All right, so that's all I have for referrals right now, and I will open it up for questions if anybody has any questions on referrals. We do have one. What's the level of visibility for a referral for mortgage where the individual is already a credit card or wealth management relationship with the bank? So that would be up to the visibility, right? So with mortgage, that referral may go over to a mortgage associate and become an opportunity. And then I would suggest that you at least expose the status of that opportunity back to that referring associate, but you can definitely adjust that if you did not want to.
I think that's the only question we have. Does anyone have any other questions?
I'll go ahead and move on. If I see one, then we'll try to address it.
Perfect.
All right, next we're going to talk about action plans. And I know Scott touched a little bit on it yesterday. This is the old managed package of action plans, but they really upgraded it. And we'll kind of go in some of the new things that they've added to this and why it can be powerful with FSC. So what are action plans? And we're going to talk about a few things with action plans. We're going to talk about their usage and their everyday usage. We're going to talk about templates. Templates are pretty much the backbone of the action plan. What makes up the action plan starts with tasks, document checklist items, and then the action plan itself. So there's going to be two components to an action plan, and we'll go into each one of them. So action plans are really great where you have a predefined process and need to ensure your associates follow that same process every time. When you do that, it creates a great customer experience and helps also ensure compliance by the associates. You don't have people, I mean, it's like a checklist, right? This is a automatically created checklist so to make sure that you follow the process and the correct people follow the process and collect the correct information. So some examples in financial services, I would say, obviously mortgage lending. So if you have a mortgage lending checklist, if you have an onboarding checklist that you need for customers, if you have a wealth management annual reviews, that's a really important one and a use case that I've utilized before. And we can talk about that a little bit. But you can pretty much do it with anything that has a set of tasks and need to be done in particular order. Everyone's got a group of recurring tasks. I've never seen an industry that didn't have the same. You had to do a certain number of things, whether that be to close a loan or register your car. You have a group of things that has to happen. So some of the main features of action plans are repeatable, assignable tasks, and document checklist items. So we're going to go through each one of those individually, what they are and what they can do. It does use standard Salesforce tasks, but there's automation behind the creation of those tasks. So there's no individual creation, manual creation. It's done it's automated. The action plan can be created automatically, or you can create them manually. When I say the action plan, not the individual task, but the plan themselves can be created manually or automatic. It can use many standard and custom objects. This is growing with every release. In the beginning, it only did a handful. I think opportunities was very limited to 2 or 3 objects, and now it's many standard objects and any custom object that can have that has tasks and activities activated. And with reporting, you can monitor how your plans are moving through the pipeline. So action plan usage, and I've touched on this a little bit. Where are you going to use action plans? Predefined processes. You're going to use standard and custom objects. You're going to use task or document checklist items. We're going to talk about dependent tasks, which are a cool new addition to action plans, and how you assign those tasks. As we talked about, you want to use action plans where defined processes exist. And I would even challenge people, if there's not a process exists and you're in the middle of creating that process, think about how action plans can work. So as I said, it's supported on right now account, contact, and FSC, financial account, financial goal, insurance policy, leads, opportunities, a big one, residential loan application. And as I said, any custom object with activities enabled. Task and document checklist items can be required or not required. So if you have a process where some documents are optional, you can note that in the action plan template. So when the action plan is created, then it will not be required. And tasks can be dependent on other tasks. A task can be dependent on up to 3 prerequisite tasks. So, and I'll get into this when we talk about tasks. And so, and matter of fact, the tasks aren't even created until those predecessor tasks are completed. And task and document checklist items can be assigned to individuals, the person who created the action plan, roles, and queues in some instances as well. So there's a lot of flexibility on how you can assign it. And we'll move to the heart of action plans. So behind every action plan is the action plan template. It is the basis for defining the task and the document checklist items for the action plan itself. So you have to have an action plan template in order to create action plans. And they're very, very simple to set up, very simple. You're basically creating and assigning the target object. So if it's a opportunity, you're gonna create in this little box here, you're gonna create the action plan template name. You're gonna set the target object on it, a short description. Right now, there's only one type of action plan type, and the object itself. And you've created the shell for your template. Once you've created the shell, you're going to assign task and document checklist items. You're going to create these and assign them. And we'll show you an example of that as we go through. And this is configurable by the end user. You don't have to have an admin configure this. So if you have a manager of a department who manages the processes, you can give them permissions to create action plan templates or to modify action plan templates. It does not have to be an admin. So setting up tasks and action plans, it could literally not be easier. So once the template is set up, you're going to start by creating tasks. You set the subject and priority just like you normally do. You set a due date based on the create date of the action plan. So if you say, okay, this task has to be done in 1 day, in this example, this task is going to have a due date of 1 day after the action plan is created. So you're not like you normally create a task. It's similar to creating a task, but you don't have to set an actual due date or a date. The system will do it for you. Task dependency, and I've highlighted this. Task dependency is really, really important. So in this example, the pull account performance report is dependent upon the schedule review meeting with customer. So that schedule review meeting has to have happened first and been completed, and then the pull account performance report task will be available. The cool thing about it is that the dependent tasks are not even created until the prerequisite tasks are complete. So if they're looking at an action plan that's been created, if they haven't completed the prerequisite tasks, then they won't even see the other tasks that are due yet, because they don't have due dates yet, because they haven't been created because of the prerequisites. And then the task assignment. So at the bottom there, you're going to see, okay, who are you going to assign it to? Are you going to assign it to specific people in the organization? Or are you going to assign it to the action plan creator? I'll give you an example there. If you create action plan on an opportunity for things that have to be done on that opportunity, then maybe that every one of those tasks has to be completed by the owner. So whoever created that action plan, it becomes the assignee of the task. And then you can do roles too. If you have individual roles or individual queues, you can assign those, and then anybody can do the tasks that are required. And those may be a way to go as far as if you have mortgage lending, where there's a lot of things that have to be done by a group of people. So once the task had been completed, the creation of the task had been completed, and this is still part of the template, not the actual finished action plan. This is just the template we're setting up. You can see right here the task timeline. You can see any prerequisite tasks, the priority, how long they have to complete those tasks, and if they're required. So as part of the template, you can see all that information before you publish it. So this is a really powerful way to set up a group of tasks and get it going. Next, in addition to tasks, we're going to have document checklist items provide you with a way of tracking the documents necessary to complete your process. So in addition to tasks, you're going to have document checklist items. You can configure the list of documents that are required. So in a mortgage situation or say an auto loan situation, you may have collect title, you may have make sure you do the R&V application, that type of thing. And the documents can be collected from the customer or a third party, and you can actually attach those documents to the checklist item. But right now we're just creating the group part of the template of the items that need to be created. Document type is a configurable pick list. So you can configure this to the documents specific to your industry or your customer. You don't have to just depend, obviously, on the out-of-the-box Salesforce ones. They'll get you there. So they'll get you 50% of the way there, but you're going to want to change that. And the document required status can be set per document type. So if you, in a mortgage situation, if you require 2 years tax returns, then you're going to require 2 years tax returns. The action plan template will require that. So the one drawback to this is that you cannot assign checklist items to individuals like you can with tasks, because they have not allowed for that yet. But I anticipate it probably is on the roadmap coming down the road, but right now you cannot do that. That is a drawback. So once your task have been once your task for the template have been set up, and then you've set up all your document checklist items for the template, you can publish the template. And I will actually just go back a slide to show that, because I want to show that. In this one, you can't see it very well, is a publish button. So once that template has been created, you are able to publish it. And then once it's published, it's going to be live and ready to be utilized by your end users. One cool feature they just added is cloning. So if you have a stacking order or things that you have to do, and one document changes, you don't have to create the entire template again. You can just clone that template and then change what needs to be changed and republish. And when you republish, it overwrites the existing action plan template that's there. And so you don't have to worry about, deleting one. The new version will then take over. All right. So the action plan creation. So once the action plan template has been completed, then that's when action plans come into effect. All right. So action plan is consistent based on the template that we talked about, and we just went through the template. It can be created manually or via automation. So if you wanted to, in my example, I think I gave a little bit earlier, I like to do this. I like to utilize automation for this, and you can use Flow, you can use API, you can use a number of things that you want to create this. But for example, if you wanted an action plan to be created every time a opportunity of a certain record type was done, you could absolutely do that. You just create a flow and say, okay, I want to start with this action plan. Here are my default values. Use this action plan template, and you can automate the creation of that. And right away, you've taken, how long does it take to create 10 different tasks by an individual? You've taken that out of their hands. It's all done automatically now. The cool thing about it is tasks can be managed via normal tasks. So if you have end users that use the task object to see everything they have outstanding, it'll work the exact same way. They can see those tasks. Clearly defined assignment. So right away in this example, you can see that the tasks are assigned to Aileen Davis. So she knows right away that she has to have those tasks completed and those documents collected. So if you're viewing the action plan instead of the task, you can see who is assigned to everyone else. A great example, and I've actually utilized this before, is in wealth management. We had a requirement where the wealth managers had to meet with their customers once a year, and they had a set number of things that they had to do and discuss with that customer. With action plans, it made it very easy because we knew when that customer was onboarded. We knew every year when their date was. we would create an action plan automatically based off that date. So that wealth manager would come in the morning, they would instantly say, oh, I've got to go to Aileen or Bob or Mary and say, I've got to collect this information. I got to have these conversations. Those tasks would already be set up. And we could even, we could schedule things, we could schedule events based off of that. So it's really, really really helpful to those end users. One thing I wanted to say, you can also, as part of the template, you can set it up where individuals can add tasks after an action plan has been created. So if the template allows that, Eileen could add additional tasks that needed to happen on here. Perhaps she needed to follow up or make a call or perform another task based on something that was submitted. She could absolutely add a new task, and that can then be tracked as well. And finally, I wanted to talk about the reporting. So this is really powerful with reporting. Obviously, you can report on tasks, outstanding tasks, that kind of thing. With action plans, these are going to be created automatically. Your processes are going to be automated. So you're really going to have a powerful tool to track how the processes are being done, if they're being done on time, and the percentage to completion. So action plans are, to wrap up, action plans are really powerful. It's all based on the template. Once the template is set up, then the action plans can be created manually or automated. Questions?
Don't see any questions in the chat. Does anyone have any questions? You could unmute yourself and ask the question. I think.
All right, we'll move forward then.
Yes.
All right, next we're going to talk about life events and business milestones. I'm going to focus most of it on life events because they're very similar. I'll touch on business milestones at the end. And with life events, I'm going to talk about creating life events, how we can create, or excuse me, capture unique once-in-a-lifetime events. We can choose what to show. We can hide sensitive information. And then we can have actions from life events and what we can do on those life events to make things easier for our end users. And then we'll talk about business milestones. Here, I'm going to show you a component. This is the life events component that's right out of the box for Salesforce. And I'm going to use Rachel Adams as an example. And if you've ever been FSC, and I would encourage you, and I'm going to show you some resources at the end, you really want to try it out, and you'll get used to Rachel Adams and her household quite a bit. With life events, associates can tell what has happened in Rachel's life, what's going on, what's currently going on, what's coming up, what's happened in the past. Imagine, I'm going to say you're an FSR or CSR in a branch, and you've inherited Rachel's account from another associate. And that associate has dealt with Rachel for several years and knows everything about her and her family. But you don't have that years-long relationship with that customer that you've cultivated. You may cultivate it, but you don't have it right now. So with life events, you don't get in the nitty-gritty. You don't see the details of everything, but you can get a really cool insight into Rachel and what has happened to her. So in this example, you can see, all right, when she was born, so you know how old she is. When she graduated, kind of as she's built her life events are going to be there as well. She got married, and at each one of these life events or job changes or marriages or moves, there's going to be opportunities there for your financial institution to some extent, whether it be a home loan or a personal loan for moving costs or a car loan for cars, that type of thing. With this, you don't have to have an established relationship right off the bat. You can see everything right there in front of you, and you can get an idea what her experiences have been, where she's been and where she's going. And that's just going to help you do your job as well. So the life events or business milestone component is going to show life events for a person account, a contact record, or a business account record, or a regular account record for a business. So those are the three places that we're going to be able to show the life event component. It is just a lightning component that you can drag onto a record page. So for example, in this case, you have a person account for Mrs. Adams. That's right at the top of the record page. I like to see it at the top of the record page because you're going to be able to view it quickly and easily. And like I said, I'm going to focus on life events, and then we'll touch on business milestones at the end because they both operate very similar. We're going to talk about creating life events, the fact that it is a included component with FSC, nothing new or no programming involved, very simple configuration. It can be for a person account record, like I stated, contact record, or an account record, business milestones only, for an account, for business account. To start with life events, you simply drag it onto the page. In this case, in this example, you're seeing at the top of the page, it's on a person account record page. So you can see very easily that you drop it, and then the configuration is very simple. One of the buttons you see up there is hide events. So you can hide events for customers that you don't want to see. When that event is created, it doesn't keep you from creating that event. It just may not show it until that event is actually created. That's a cool feature, and I'll kind of show you that in a minute. And then you can simplify the entry of life events with customized fields from the account record. So you can show different fields on those life events. The entry itself, very simple. When you create a new life event, you're going to choose a name, what type it is, whether it be birth, marriage, education, car, home. Once again, that's a pick list. It can be changed and altered in any way that you want. And then as much information as you want to, what date the event took place, time if needed, and then a description. Obviously, it's going to automatically relate it to a person. So this is the entry of it is very quick, not much information at all. If you want to put in location information, you can, but it's not necessary. Really cool thing is setting up once in a lifetime events or unique events. Events that occur once, say birth, you're only born once, right? And then prevent users from duplicating events. So if we're only born once, we don't want our users putting in the birth several different times. So in this example, you can see the event type pick list values, and this is straight out of my demo org. So these are kind of the standard values that are there. Like I said, you can deactivate these and change these as needed. This is a good start though, so I'd encourage you to use those. Choosing what to show on a life events. To choose what you want to show on that, you just simply hover over the life event. And when you hover over the life event, you can get the information right there, or quite a bit of the information without actually opening the event. So this is another way it makes the UI kind of intuitive for you. You don't have to click down into other objects. You can see the life events right there in front of you. Fields for the life event are configurable by a compact layout. So you can go very simple to configure the compact layout, and you're going to be able to see instead of primary person, maybe you want to see location, that type of thing. You can alter that in any way, shape, or form that you want to for the fields in the compact layout. Also, you can see multiple life events on here. So if we're doing the hover, if they had 2 graduations, you can definitely see that 2 graduations there as an example. Hiding sensitive life events. So being more sensitive to the customer needs. So you can hide life events or business milestone types that may cause customer resentment if the customer hasn't achieved it or isn't likely to achieve an event or milestone of that type. When you hide it, it doesn't mean it goes away. It just doesn't appear on the component until you add that type of event or milestone. It just adds more sensitivity to your customer. I mean, you don't want to show diagnosis if, until they actually have a diagnosis. That's kind of a little morbid to the customer. They may not want to see that if they look over your shoulder. It's easy to configure. As I showed you, when you drag that component, you just choose which ones you want to not show, and it will absolutely do that for you. And it's configurable by the Lightning page. So it's easy configuration to set up and to drag on. One of the most powerful features that I find of life events are the actions that you can take off of life events, because there's no need to leave the record. You're immediately associate events to records created. So if you create a new action plan or a new event or a new task off of this life event, it's immediately related to that life event. You don't have to go anywhere else. It's all here on one screen. Your associates will be able to quickly create records and associate it with that life event without leaving the page. So for example, when you're looking at a car purchase event, the associate can quickly create a new referral record to an insurance associate. That referral record is automatically associated with the life event and that customer. These actions here are, you can add different actions or take actions away. I gave an example of referral. You could also do an opportunity. So if you have a car and you want an insurance opportunity, you can absolutely create an action for an opportunity as well, with the default fields that go along with it. So by doing that, the associate doesn't miss a beat. They're talking to the customer. The customer may express a need, and that associate can create a referral or an opportunity for that need to fix that need right there without going anywhere else. Once you start utilizing life events and business milestones, you're going to really see the how powerful they are, not just as a visualization tool, but the ability to take action off of those records faster. And I think that's really the win here with life events. And quickly, I want to touch on business milestones. Like I said, it's a standard FSC object. Life events are an object. Business milestones is an object as well. Configurable just like life events. Once again, you learn about new customers quickly, and you can create records from the component. So it's very similar in function and configurability to life events. It makes the transitions of accounts between associates quicker. I think of this with commercial lenders. If someone's had a commercial lender for years, that lender leaves to go to a competitor, takes all that knowledge with them, as a lot of times it does happen. The new associate can come in here, the new lender can come in here and take a look at the milestones and say, okay, what happened? We had a merger here, we had an expansion here, maybe we had a bankruptcy, or maybe we had a product launch. They can quickly get up to speed with that customer. They don't know everything that happened with that customer, but they at least get kind of the Cliff Notes version right off the top of the bat. One of the things I also like about business milestones and life events that's important is it creates a very consistent UI for the end user. If that end user is looking at a person account and then they switch over and look at a business account, the components are very similar. They're almost identical in their functions, but their visualizations are very similar. It just allows consistency, and I think that's really really important. If you put it on the same page, same place on the page, on the account record page, then that customer can see, that end user can see that information in a consistent fashion. So that wraps up life events. Any questions? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I think I have one.
Sure.
You can hear me?
Yes.
I think on the first page in this topic, you were showing a screen where it said lifetime value, and there was also a category, which was platinum, I think. So what would this lifetime value represent? And is this category is something that can be set up based on certain parameters, or you just used it for this specific example?
Yeah, so in this example, this is other functionality behind FSC. It's really not as part of the, it's not part of the life events. So, but in this case, what I would do here, you see here, total financial accounts and assets under management. These are two categories. This is going to be held by all the financial accounts. So for example, if Rachel had 2 checking accounts, a savings account, a CD, that type of thing, that's all going to roll up to her. And that's native functionality in FSC. So that's how you get the financial accounts. And then your AUM is going to be your wealth financial accounts usually. The platinum category, that's probably going to be programmatic in the background, and it's going to be based on these 2 figures. And it's probably just a formula. I've never utilized this before, but it really is not part of the life events itself.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And then I had one question here. How do agents use life events? Do they track life events to sell certain products? Yeah, absolutely. So if you say you're an FSR and another associate in the bank, credit union, or even wealth office talked to that customer the day before and indicated that there was a new event or a new car purchase or new home purchase, yeah, absolutely create an action off of that, create an opportunity. Or more so create a referral, right? So they could create a referral right from their customer when the customer says, hey, I bought a new Honda, that type of thing. So I think you can definitely do that. And I would say one of the main things about it is not only to track your customer, but to be able to take action off of that customer quickly. Sorry, I got to go through all my things. Next, I'm going to talk about Flow Orchestrator. I am not an expert in Flow Orchestrator. I just want to put it out there because it's going to take Flow to the next, well, not really take Flow to the next level. Flow's already going to the next level, but allow you to do things with flows that you weren't able to do before, and automate very complicated processes that you weren't able to do before with just Flow. So I'll take you to the Flow. So as I said, it takes Flow to the next level. It really does. It allows you to do different processes. It's clicks, not code. We're not coding here. And it automates multi-step processes. It's created, Flow Orchestrator was created so admins like us can quickly create sophisticated multi-user, multi-stepped automated business processes with clicks, not code. So I relate it to creating multiple flows, kind of linking them together based on actions and time. So workflow requirements, and I'm sure everyone in this webinar has dealt with this before. Workflow requirements don't get easier. They always get more difficult, right? And the processes that happen rarely get easier. They're usually more complex. So what used to be simple processes can now span multiple users and multiple departments. There could be an extended time period between these processes. And every handoff between a user or waiting period is a costly gap, right? So people can drop the ball all the time by waiting on a process. So some of the important things about Flow Orchestrator, and I would encourage you to Google it and learn everything you can about it. It's relatively new in this most recent release, and FSC will have Orchestrator as part of it. So that's a real important reason to get it. Here I've given you, it's a very familiar interface. It's the familiar Flow Builder interface. You're just creating your orchestrations off of existing flows or new flows. They can run in and they can run in sequence and parallel, so they can run at the same time and they can run together. So it's a really cool way to put your flows together into one process. So orchestrate, it's multi-user flows. This is really perfect for a task that needs to be assigned to multiple users. You can create task lists that intelligently allow a user to complete work and a supervisor to sign off on it. So you can have a flow that would involve, or orchestration that would involve a flow, an approval process, many different things over the time. You can combine related tasks into a single stage. So here's an example of a stage. You can have the confirmation, you have your work step, and then you have your steps underneath it. I apologize. And then a great example of how to use orchestration would be onboarding a new customer. I don't know about anybody here, but onboarding and financial services that I've been a part of is nothing short of a pain, right? So you may have to collect documentation from the customer. You may have to have that documentation approved by the manager. You may have to have compliance involved. There's a lot of different steps that could happen that Orchestrator could take the place of and then run those processes. Step one could be completed. Step two doesn't start till step one is complete, that type of thing. I thought of a great example for this of with onboarding to create a flow in a homepage. So if you're a CSR or a teller even, and you have a flow in your homepage and you want to onboard a new customer, you could use Orchestrator to take the information down on the flow and then create an account. You could even create an account. You could create an action plan off of that. You could create approval processes all along the process itself of creating that customer and onboarding them to your organization. So there's a ton of things you can do. I just want to make you aware of it because it is out there. It's very new, and it is available with Financial Services Cloud. So I am not the type of person to get into pricing at all, but I will tell you that with orchestration, it is included with FSC, but it's kind of a freemium offer. You're going to get a certain number of orchestrations. I'm not sure of that number yet. I have not gotten that information from Salesforce, but you will get a certain number of orchestrations included with your FSC package. After that, you'll be charged, probably by orchestration. So I would check with your account executive for more details on that, see if they have it, because that's a really cool thing. It's going to take, like I said, take flows to the next level and help you really automate those processes a little bit better. Next, I want to speak on Tableau CRM for Financial Services Cloud really quick. And I would encourage you to get a test or a sample org and take a look at this. You get an analytics starter pack with FSC for many areas of financial services. So you get a kind of a Tableau starter pack. And you get a lot of predefined dashboards to utilize and modify. And I say a lot, not a lot, you get a few. FSC is basically a starter pack for Tableau. You get some basic dashboards based on standard FSC objects such as financial accounts, insurance information, and wealth characteristics. Most of them are derived around book of business. So as you can see right here, what financial accounts are in my book, how much do I have outstanding, what type of loans or investments do we have outstanding, wallet share, that kind of thing. It's very basic. It's not full-blown Tableau CRM at all, but it does get you started. I have utilized this before. I liked it. And it's a good way to get you started, and it's included. More extensive dashboards are available. There is an upgrade called Tableau CRM for Financial Services, and it is a pack. It's additional cost. You have to check with your account executive on the cost and negotiate that. but it does provide a lot of additional dashboards with that package for many areas. So that really would get you up and going quicker. These dashboards created in Tableau CRM can be embedded on Salesforce home pages, record pages. So you can utilize this information throughout Salesforce. And I'll just touch on a few or show you a few. This was a great example that we have. There's not a lot in here, obviously, but financial advisor homepage. So right away, when your financial advisor comes in, instead of looking at a spreadsheet, they can see their book of business, their clients, their interactions, that type of information. And then finally, like client acquisition. This is a really cool one. How many leads and referrals? And this would obviously be from, a senior management level. Your open leads and referrals, your activity, average age of referrals, which really old, and then like newest lead and referral days. So this is just a few examples. Like I said, take a look at it online, talk to your AE about it. It is an additional cost to get kind of the full boat for financial services. You get very little out of the gate, but it's definitely enough to get you started. And let's see. Next, I'm going to talk about this, and I'll be quite frank with everyone here. This was new to me this week, but I'm really, really excited about this. Everyone on our team is excited about this. Salesforce has come out with an Fsc Transition Assistant. It sounds like a person that's going to help you. It's going to take my job as a consultant, but what this will do will make your journey a lot easier, whether you're converting from an existing org to Financial Services Cloud, or you may even have a greenfield situation where you're starting new. This Fsc Transition Assistant is going to really help you. It's very new. I don't have all the information on it. I'm just going to give you a couple of slides on it really quick. But you definitely want to write this down. If you're looking to move and transition to FSC, this Transition Assistant is going to be your best friend. So with the FSC Transition Assistant, it's a managed package that Salesforce provides that utilizes basically questionnaires to understand the goals of moving to FSC, wealth, insurance, banking, and it also allows automatically maps existing schema to the FSC schema. It will change fields. It will look at the apex in your org to see if it's going to bang against something in FSC. It's really, really cool. And like I say, you do your own research on it for sure, but it is coming. It is out there and coming. Going to be an important tool. With this transition assistant, you're going to be able to get peace of mind. You're going to see what a transition entails, right? So you're going to see where the trouble, where the bottlenecks may be, and get a little bit of early insight in that. Obviously, it's going to save some time. You're not going to have to do a manual assessment of this. Slalom would love to give you an assessment on this, on your existing org and what it would take to transfer it over. This is going to save some time. And then it's standardized. So it's going to calibrate your org against everybody in the industry. So it's going to really take what it's seen in other migrations and use the tool to gauge that. And then you can use a transition assistant at every step. You can see the impacted objects. You'll be able to do a discovery, design, build, and implement all the phases. It's going to give you guided data mapping. It's automatically going to create components based on that data mapping, and then you deploy the packages to install the FSC. So it actually, I don't know if anybody here has ever tried to implement FSC, but there's quite a few managed packages that have to be migrated as part of the installation. It's not onerous by any means, but it takes a little bit of time. This automates that for you. And finally, what is the output from the Transition Assistant? It gives you suggested steps. You can impact analysis and estimated level of effort, guided mapping of your org's data model. That's huge. Evaluation of your existing custom code, configuration and apps, recommended approach, and then recommended FSC features. If there's some features that you didn't need, it's going to recommend that. So like I say, this is very, very new to me for sure. But I thought it was important to throw it out there to everybody so they could hear about it. And if they were thinking about an FSC implementation, that this needed to be part of their tool chest for sure. Any final questions? That's pretty much everything I have before I give you some other resources I wanted you to look at, but I wanted to know if anybody had any questions on anything that we've talked about. I wanted to give that opportunity. I know we have about 10 minutes left, but I wanted to give that opportunity.
If anyone has any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask the question now.
All right, great. Thank you. I'm just going to point you to a couple of other resources really quickly. The first would be on Trailhead, the Financial Services Cloud Specialist Super Badge. It doesn't take you forever to do. I only got 10,000 points for it. But it is on Trailhead, and it tells you everything that I've discussed and Scott discussed. Well, maybe not DPE, but it gives you a tremendous amount of information in a short period of time. It is recommended to definitely take a look at this if you're going to implement FSC. So I would definitely take a look at this. It's really, really cool. It's obviously Trailhead's kind of fun to take, so it would be great. And then Partner Learning Camp. For those of you that are partners, Partner Learning Camp has the FSC Accredited Professional course that they take. It's going to give you study resources and access to the FSC Accredited Professional exam. It's not a certification. To me, it felt like a certification, but it was not a certification. It was accredited professional. But that study material, if you do have access to Partner Camp, was tremendously helpful. It did go over similar information to the Super Badge, but it gave me a lot of information that I didn't have before. So those are just two reasons.
Sorry, is it like a learning path or the second one?
Yeah, it's if you are a Salesforce partner, they will provide access to the Partner Learning Camp, and that's only available for partners. But if there were any partners on here, I just wanted to make sure that they were aware of that.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I would thank you so much for allowing me and spending an hour and a half with me on your evening when you didn't have to. I really appreciate it. I've enjoyed my time spending time with you, everyone. And I hope that you enjoyed everything, and that if you have any questions with FSC, my name's out there. You can ping me on LinkedIn. That's fine. I'll be glad to help you in any way, shape, form that I can.